Hey everybody, welcome to my channel, and I'm glad you're here. I want to talk to you today about permanently overcoming pornography. This is something that I myself have struggled with quite a bit in my life, and it ruined a marriage, it nearly lost me a career, it changed the entire trajectory of my life. I ended up deciding to pursue becoming a marriage and family therapist because of my pornography addiction. There were some other factors to it too, but that was one of the primary driving forces. So I want to share with you what I've learned in my journey, not just overcoming porn, but also as becoming a therapist, on what has helped me the most to truly and permanently overcome porn. So, of course, quick disclaimer, I am not yet a therapist, and I am not your therapist. So if you need therapeutic help or you need someone specifically, seek out a professional who is licensed. I highly recommend LMFTs, as they are focused on the broader picture and not just one of the issues that a lot of people suffer with. And then also, this is just for education. So don't allow this to replace therapy. Therapy is important and can fast track you to overcoming pornography. So what I've learned is that there are three true pillars to overcoming any major psychological or behavioral addiction in your life. And that is with something called the biopsychosocial model. And the biopsychosocial model is obviously consisting of three primary items. It's biological, psychological, and social. Now, each one of those stands for a kind of particular set of information that's coming into your life, that's shaping how you behave and how these things affect your actions, going forward. Biological, obviously, it's going to be health, medication, diet, your sleep, hygiene, things like that. Psychological are going to be how you deal with emotions, your reasoning, like logic reasoning versus emotions, dopamine loops, boundaries that you have with people, communication style, attachment styles, things like that. Social is more like social resources, is really what that comes down to. It's what kind of culture are you from? How do you interact with your family? How do they support you in this journey? What about friends? What about your work resources? Are you spending a lot of time with people at work? Do you work so much that those are really the only friends you have? That kind of thing. Like, let's look outside of just our ability to reason and our body's way of functioning and see how the outside world interacts with us. And I think that these are really important aspects because these lead to us having a purpose beyond just surviving, right? I'll tell you a story here in a minute and see if you can relate to it. But one of the things that I've found with this is that we can't just eliminate porn. Porn isn't something that you just get rid of. You have to replace it. And you have to fill your life up with so much purpose and reason for living and day-to-day things that you have no room for porn anymore. So I think it's the difference between saying that in this moment we are tolerating our life and the life that we want is truly living. And when we live, we don't need porn. When we tolerate, we need porn. So the story that I'll tell you here is it's a conglomeration of a lot of people's stories who have come to me and asked about overcoming porn. It's some of my own story, and I think it's a very common story. It is the story of John Doe who comes home from a career that he chose because he thought that it was going to make him good money, and he was semi-interested in it. But he's not the best at it. And when he gets home, the house is not quite clean, whether that's a wife or partner. Things aren't always done, and he feels like he always has to keep up with extra that he doesn't feel like he should have to. But he doesn't say anything, and he makes sure it gets done, and he feels like he's the harder worker in his relationship, and maybe even the harder worker at his career. His family relationship isn't great, but it's not bad. His friends are cool. He's got a couple of really close friends, but he doesn't ever feel like he's been able to be truly honest with them, to open up completely. They don't know who he fully is, because if they did, they wouldn't really like him anymore. When his wife is mad at him, he just does what he needs to keep the peace. He makes her happy, and it's fine. And he finds himself looking at porn because it makes all of that okay. It's just, when I'm angry, porn makes me not angry. And when my wife doesn't want to have sex, then I'll look at porn. Or if something goes wrong at work, I'll just look at porn. And that is such a common story. It's not a bad life, but it's not a good life either. I think that too often with something like pornography, we're told that if it's not ruining your life, then it's not a problem. But is a life that's not full of purpose and reason really a good life? When I was living that kind of life, I didn't realize how much I was missing out on. To have purpose, to have meaning, to want to wake up every day excited about the work I was going to do, the people I was going to interact with, my friends, my family. I can't express to you enough how different following the biopsychosocial model has made my life. And I think that it'll make yours more complete too. I am going to do a series on the biopsychosocial model, and I am going to touch on each one of those, because each one of those is a different leg to the chair that we sit on in our life. That chair is where we rest. It's what supports us and holds us up. And if those legs are uneven, or if one is completely missing, what's going to end up happening is we're going to have to hold steady on that chair the whole time, right? And that's going to tire us out. We should be able to sit down and rest. We should be able to rest on the fact that our biological, psychological, and social support systems are allowing us to gain the strength to resist the urge to watch porn. And if we're not taking care of all three of these, then we're only wearing ourselves out further. It may sound familiar to you, but maybe you've started your porn journey and you have a sobriety tracker. You have Covenant Eyes or some other software blocker, that stops you from going to those sites. But of course, you've figured out a way around it, right? Because that doesn't take very long. And so now you only look at porn every 9 or 10 days, maybe every 5 or 6 days, maybe every month, once a month you look at porn. But whatever it is, this change in behavior, this change in pattern still includes looking at porn every so often. And I know this all too well because the people I've worked with and myself, this pattern reappeared, right? It's still something where we go to the pornography in order to give ourselves a release after however many days, right? And this is where the biopsychosocial model comes in, because it's pointing to the fact that we're not actually fully resting when we're away from porn. We're actually tiring ourselves out by trying to handle this wobbly chair, and then porn is where we go to get relief. Porn is what allows us to rest, except that's a lie. It takes from us and doesn't give to us, and so we only get more tired. And even if that's a situation where you're going 5 or 6 weeks and then binging for a week and then going 5 or 6 weeks and binging for a week again, it's still patterns, right? And so we want to be able to break those patterns. And in order to break those patterns, we have to look at all of these particular areas and make sure that we are fulfilling them in a meaningful, repeatable, and measurable way. So if that sounds interesting to you, and it sounds like this might be the answer that you're finally needing to overcome porn for good, then please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification button, and we will be coming out with the continuation of this series over the next few weeks in order to go deeper into each of those 3 subsections of the biopsychosocial theory in order to teach you how to apply this to your life to overcome porn for good. Thank you, and we'll see you in the next videos.